We probably all have some abandoned projects. I know, I have. In this video, I'll show you exactly why this miniature took me over 6 months to complete. I'll share what got me over that route so you can learn from my mistakes and avoid some of the same pitfalls in your artistic journey. I'll also get some honest feedback from multiple-time Golden Demon winner Nikolas, because sometimes
you just need a fresh pair of eyes on what you're painting.
But if you don't have a world-class miniature painter on speed dial, don't worry, you can still learn a lot from this video. So let's rewind back to the summer of 2024 when I first started this miniature. This painting process began like so many others with a rush of inspiration. It was July, the sun was shining, and I had just seen Australian miniature painter David Colwells' piece, Swordmaster of Hoth. What caught my eye was the rich blue-orange contrast and the absolutely beautiful saturated non-metallic metal in his work. The deep mustard-like gold tones balance these strong blues perfectly. Now, Dave is an amazing painter, and if you haven't seen his work, you're missing out. Feeling utterly inspired, I set off on my journey to paint the Rook. Using saturated blue tones for the armor's metallics, I mixed in heavy blue-gray tones and quickly shaped the lighting on the armor. With non-metallic metal, light placement is everything. If you get this wrong, the illusion falls apart. And if that's something you struggle with, you should consider joining me over at my workshop on March 29th to 30th in Copenhagen, or in the 12th or 13th of July in Las Vegas at Virgo's Wall. Tickets are on sale now. Check the description for more details, and if you can't make it, I also have a Patreon with hours and hours of exclusive lessons. A huge round of applause to my patrons for making all of this possible. Your names are on the screen now, and let's get back to the video. As I pushed my highlights further, the deep blues began to fade a bit. White highlights take up more space on the model and they pull some of that color back a little bit. I also now realized that maybe I didn't love the strong blue metallics as much as I thought I would, but I still wanted to play with some of the contrast I'd seen in Colwell's piece. So I quickly sketched in some mustard gold tones before moving on to the helmet. That's when I started feeling lost. Those details are tiny and I couldn't really soften those white highlights without losing that shine of the non-metallic metal. The piece wasn't turning out the way I envisioned, but instead of adjusting, I hesitated and then eventually I stopped. Denial, frustration, call it what you want. At this stage, I put the Rook down for at least 6 months. Instead of facing the challenge, I dove into other projects, chasing the inspiration elsewhere. Hello patrons and welcome to back. Welcome to the second and welcome back. Welcome back. And welcome back. Welcome back. Hello patrons and welcome. It wasn't time wasted per se, but I just let this piece sit untouched in the back of my cabinet. Then, in January, something changed. Maybe it was pride, maybe it was a New Year's resolution. You know how the gym is always packed in January? Yeah, maybe this was my version of that. Determined to finish the Rook, I picked the miniature back up, ready to push through. I now came to the acceptance that my Rook would never look like Dave Colwell's work. But that was okay. Instead of mimicking his peachy orange tones and warm skin, I leaned into some stronger greens and the gold reflection. I painted small areas of these bright green-yellow highlights on the feathered armor plates, creating a fresh, different contrast. I also reached out to my friend Nikolas for feedback. Nikolas has won more Golden Demons than I care to count, and not to mention the countless other awards he's also won for his miniature art. Showing your work to someone at that level can be intimidating, but I knew that some external pressure would push me to refine the figure a little bit more. Here's what I sent him. Hi, Nikolas, this is my miniature. Show me how to get good, please. After the usual technical hiccups and messing around with settings because you can't hear each other.
Hey Nikolas. For mig. 12 sekunder her, det er helt sikkert noget på min ende. Der, nu tror jeg den er der.
Kan du høre mig?
Yes, nu kan jeg det. Fedt.
Perfekt.
Sorry, jeg mistede lige overblik over tiden og lige.
The classic, so you can see my screen now, right?
Du kan se min skærm nu, ikke?
Yep.
As who doesn't miss the golden age of the awkward Zoom calls? We got into it.
So the two areas I would focus on enhance the overall contrast.
So in this case, add a bit more shading and also enhance the highlights a bit more.
I would also focus on adding
some more intense bounce lights.
So basically everywhere where
We have these darkest shadows right now.
we can add a bounce light also.
So it's a good way of framing the element.
Mm-hmm.
So with that I mean that we have, instead of just having a very dark shadow, we can add this bounce light.
Like in that way, it's more of a readable element.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Just so it was like the missing part of
of all the reflections, kind of to connect with each other. I felt like the helmet here.
just with some quite simple add-ons or
Corrections, we can get a bit more
get the model to be a bit more
part of the base. Now I'm just thinking that he's standing in a brownish environment, but it's a very good way of connecting the model to the surroundings by thinking about which
colors we have in the surroundings.
things and add that to especially the bounce lights.
It's nice to get a fresh pair of eyes and to see these things happen on the model sometimes when you've been sitting with it for a while.
Exactly.
Sometimes you just need a fresh pair of eyes on what you're painting. You can feel kind of stuck sometimes.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, that's great. Now I know exactly what to do. Thank you.
No problem.
Nikolas pointed out some areas where I needed to push the bounce lights a little bit further, the reflections from nearby surfaces that add some realism to the non-metallic metal. He also reminded me to sharpen my edge highlights, especially on sharper edges of the model. These small details make a big difference in selling the effect. With Nikolas's feedback in mind, I set out to rework parts of the piece. I added some more bounce lights, refined my highlights, and just because of this feedback, I also felt compelled to start working on the base. I built up the base using some cork, some milliput, and a few resin details. I'm thinking about browns, greens, oranges, and grays, all tied up into the palette that we already have on the armor. To complete the environment, I added some tufts of moss and grass, giving the base an overgrown, wild look. The final piece to me felt cohesive and alive, but most importantly, it was finished. And here's what I learned. You don't have to reinvent the wheel with every project. A few sources credit the composer Igor Stravinsky with saying, "A good composer does not imitate, he steals." And in painting, borrowing from others and seeking feedback and adapting your vision is all part of that process. Finished is much better than perfect. So my advice to you would be to lower your expectations. Don't be afraid to copy what you love in other people's work, and when you're stuck, seek out feedback. You can learn from peers, online communities, or you can even get personalized coaching sessions. And if you want personalized feedback, I offer online coaching through Patreon, whether via text or a video call. If you like this video, be sure to leave a like, it helps the channel grow, and it only takes a second of your time to do. Thank you so much for watching to the end, I wish you happy painting, and here is the finished Rook.